can we have a hands-on Christmas and engage our kids and all of our family members to be immersed in this season like never before? That's the topic that we're going to address today on Flourish-Meant. I'm your host, Tina Yeager, and today I have a dear friend. I am so excited to have her on the show today. She's such a delight. Her name is Julie Lavender, and she's a prolific author and journalist with a master's degree in early childhood education. Plus, she has tremendous experience as an educator and a homeschooling parent. She's here and she's going to share with us how to immerse your kids the way she has, and a little bit about her brand new adorable book, Gingerbread House, which does just that very thing for your family as well. Welcome, Julie. I'm so excited to have you on the show today.
I am so glad to be here. Thank you, Tina.
Let's dive into the many ways that being hands-on at Christmas is a unique way to bless your family, a different way to bless your family than maybe some of the traditional ways that we would celebrate Christmas. Can you talk about the difference between those regular going to all the activities, making sure that you get the to-dos all done, and then doing the hands-on activities with your families at Christmas? How is that different? What's the difference in the outcome and the blessings to your family?
There's a uniqueness to family traditions that you start. Yes, I think it's great that now our church actually doesn't do this now because we have a different music minister, but every year we had this huge Christmas play that the children's choir and the youth choir were involved in. And so our children were always a part of that. And it was a 3-day long production. And so our family knew we were going to do that, with a couple of hundred of our closest friends. And we knew it was going to be involved, and we knew they were going to have to go to dress rehearsals and all that. So that took up a lot of time, and it was a fun tradition. But at the same time, we like being able to do our own things where it's just us. We love the outdoors. We try to find a new place where we haven't gone hiking. There's a couple of parks near us, about 30 minutes away. One of them's called Magnolia Springs. And we try to go there, and we bundle up and we go for a walk. And we might find some of those fall trees that are still barely hanging on to some of those leaves, or the trees that have completely fallen apart. I said we cut down a tree at my parents' farm, but one of the things we like to do is we would walk all over. And I say all over. They had about 80 acres, but we walked all over the farm and found lots of Christmas trees. It wasn't that was our only mission, to just go find a Christmas tree and cut it down. We had the most fun. We would spend, an hour or more, maybe sometimes 2 hours, and wander around and look at all the trees and decide just which one we wanted. And that was always great fun. My brother has some property in the next county over, and we always found mistletoe. We always made sure we found some mistletoe. And one daughter in particular loved being the one to shimmy up the tree and break off the mistletoe. That was tradition, that she was the one that was going to do that. And we would always bring home mistletoe just for the fun of it. And so we're real outdoorsy people. So Christmas and the cold was synonymous with us being outside and just enjoying God's creations, whether it was the particular cedar tree we were looking for, or the mistletoe, or sometimes the animals. My husband is a biologist, so he's awesome with the kids. Whenever we go somewhere, he's invariably going to find some kind of critter, and we talk about it and just talk about God's creations. And so we like those personal things. Those are just super important to us at Christmas time. And as the kids got older, sometimes, some of them might have been still in high school, but some might have been in college. Well, we actually had more time with them than when they were home at college. So we made sure to find a special time to spend a lot of time like that together, just time spent together. We made cookies together. We baked together. We prepared the meal together. We find any excuse. There's certain Christmas movies we think we have to watch every year. And again, that might be something where it has a connection, where we have to have a certain snack with that. So it's not just us sitting in front of a screen, but it's a certain snack that we have to have with that one movie we're going to watch together, so that it makes it memorable. Popcorn with M&Ms for a particular movie, or there's a certain sprinkle sugar cookie that we have to have for another movie. So I love making those memories that they're going to treasure for a long time.
I'm hearing you emphasize slowing down instead of hustling and bustling, which is the norm for a Christmas season for most families. And I'm also hearing you talk about spending time in one another's presence, which
Hmm.
requires slowing down. Can you elaborate on that just a little bit more and why that's important for our families?
Well, I think that is so important for our families. I know it's easier said than done, and I'm always one of those that I'm a proponent of. Listen, I know it's tough, and I know it's not easy, but I think it's so necessary. I think there's certain things that we have to let go, because I just think that time we can't get that back. That we're not going to get that time back. We're not going to get Christmas 2024 back. And I think if we just try to let someone think that's so hard for a mom, we want, we try. So, I mean, as a Christian, we want to be as perfect as we can be. We cannot be perfect without Jesus, but you know what I mean? We want to be as worthy as we can be, and do the right things and do all the service projects. We think of all these great things, but you know what? We can also get too wrapped up in that if we're not careful. If we have one or two or three memorable service activities. I mentioned a lot of them earlier when I was talking, but that was over the course of several years. We might have just one or two particular ones we wanted to do that year. The next year, we may do something completely different because one year I wanted to do something special for a women's shelter. The next year, I wanted to do something special for a children's home. The next year, it was for a homeless shelter. So I'm not saying squeeze all those things in one year. If you get all these great ideas, make a list of them, make a list and put it in a Word document and think, okay, next year I'm going to fit this one in. I might not be able to fit that in this year, but I can next year. So I think definitely slowing down and trying not to let us worry about these things too much, because we're just not going to get those minutes back. And we do need that time with our kids. Some of it did require that my husband and I worked together to make sure we got things accomplished. Again, I felt like I needed to be pretty organized. And so after the kids went to bed, that's when I'd have my time to think about, okay, now what I need to do tomorrow to make this as memorable as it can be. And is there something I can do tonight that might make that slightly easier? And so if we were going to be making a breakfast casserole the next morning, then I might go ahead and get a few things organized to make it less chaotic the next morning. And my 15 minutes the night before going ahead and browning the sausage might make it way less chaotic the next morning, even though it might be a little bit of extra work for me that night before. But if it helps me it be less chaotic so that we can all slow down together the next morning, then I'm willing to do.
And you had many children. You didn't just have two, you didn't just have the one only child. Talk about that and how a family that's a big family can still work this in. How did you manage that?
You're right. We had four children, two girls and two boys. We were very blessed to, in fact, I grew up thinking I wanted two girls and two boys. And so I'm very grateful. I'm very thankful to the Lord for that. Um, there were times that, the girls would be more interested in a project or something than the boys. I think we need to give ourselves grace there too. Sometimes my boys, just especially when they got to be a teenager, they just might not want to do something that I was doing, an artsy craftsy kind of thing that I was doing with my girls. Now, if it was something I tried to work into homeschooling, sometimes I didn't give them a choice, but yet they enjoyed it. But I tried to be reasonable as well. So I think that's another place we can give ourselves grace. Every now and then, I thought it was just the awfulest thing in the world if the whole family didn't participate. But there were times that I had to do just stuff with the girls or just stuff with the boys. But my kids are in order boy, girl, boy, girl. So sometimes I would do things with just the older children. And my husband might do something with the younger children because, the last thing I wanted was for somebody to just complain and be so miserable about it. They thought, oh, I don't ever want to do that again, So I try to take those things into consideration as well. My kids are really good about honoring family traditions and seeing this as part of Christmas, as part of Jesus's birth. Most of the time, they were very good about that. But there were a very few times that I did try to give them grace if one child the oldest didn't want to do something that was more geared towards the youngest. I did let them slip out. Now I might give them something else to do. I might say, okay, well then why don't you string the lights on the porch for me while we do this craft project, okay, over here. And so that way they were still involved in something Christmassy, if you want to say it that way, but they have such different taste that there's probably a lot of times, even now I'll make four different desserts But that's fun too, because one night we'll all work together to make the youngest favorite dessert. And the next night we might make the next child's favorite dessert. So that's fun too. And then it's funny how much they know about that, because growing up, I'm not sure I could have named my siblings' favorite desserts, but my kids know, okay, this one likes to eat this, and we're going to work on this one night. And this one wants this key lime pie. That's my husband's favorite. We're all going to make that one day. So I think it's fun. It just bonds us even more.
It sounds like you had so much fun with your family, and I know that you made sure it was also meaningful. So, can you talk to families about how to incorporate the meaning of the message of Christmas and not just do a bunch of fun or busy activities?
Well, we did try to talk about that all the time. We would try to relate it in some way. Several of the years when we did our nativity scenes, that was fun because we were talking about it all the way through the month of December as we're creating each piece to add to the nativity scene. Every day we try to remind them at some point, that yes, it we're busy, but the main reason we're celebrating all of this, the only reason we're celebrating all of this is because God's gift of his son. One year we made, I give each child 3 small boxes, and I said, just like the wise men. And I would explain, obviously we think there was probably more than 3 wise men. We just kind of think that sometimes because of the gold, frankincense, and myrrh, but there were probably more than 3, possibly. And so, but we each had 3 boxes. And we did that at the beginning of the season. And I had them write on a piece of paper, and we put in the box, what gift would you like to give Jesus in the upcoming year? And I gave them some examples because some of them were little and some of them were older kids. But I said, you might want to give Jesus the gift of reading his word more often. You might want to give him the gift of befriending a loner at school or something like that. You might want to give the gift of doing chores without grumbling. Some of them, they had some cute ideas because some of them were younger at that time. But we did that one year, and then I asked them to keep that in like their sock drawer. And so we did that, and they didn't open up the box and read it, but each time they saw the box, they would think about it. So I always try to pick some little activity like that would keep their mind and focus on Jesus the entire month, not just Christmas Day or not the Christmas Eve when we go to the Christmas Eve service, but some project that would allow them to think about it all year long. One year, just like at Thanksgiving, we would write on those plastic leaves you can buy, or things we're thankful for. But we would try to do that. I would do that on like a Christmas shape, because we tend to do that just at Thanksgiving, but we would also do that sometimes at Christmas time. I would cut out a whole bunch of Christmas trees in the shape, or Christmas tree shapes, and we'd have to write down some things we're grateful for this Christmas season or thankful for. And so if there's some little project that you could get in front of their eyes. And I love leaving stuff out, especially just have it out the whole Christmas season so that there's a constant reminder of it.
Such great wisdom and insights. I thank you for sharing all of this today, Julie. How can people stay connected with you so they can get even more wonderful tips and wonderful insights and stay connected with all your writing and projects, including your brand new book? Where can they get a copy of that? The Gingerbread House, lovely children's book that you have to offer.
Well, thank you so much. My website is julielavenderwrites.com. I am most active on Facebook, more so than my website or Instagram, but you can find me on Facebook and on Instagram. Facebook is Julie Lavender, Instagram, Julie Lavender Writes. My new book is called A Gingerbread House, and it is published by Endgame Press. You can find it on Endgame Press's website as well as Amazon. And I thank you so much for those wonderful words. I'll point out that I don't want to mislead anyone. It is a general market picture book. The emphasis is on family. It's not necessarily in the Christian market because it doesn't mention God or Jesus, but the whole emphasis, the whole point of the story is all about family and honoring family. So I just want to clarify that because I don't want to mislead anybody, but it's a sweet picture book that just helps people treasure doing something fun with family, making those family memories that you're going to treasure for a lifetime, and the importance of family.
I hope that all of you listening were inspired to make more of a hands on holiday for your family this Christmas. And I also hope that you will check out Julie Lavender's new book, The Gingerbread House. And of course, I also hope that you come back for the next episode of Flourishment.